world of superheroes has been part of the popular culture since the 30s and 40s, with the first appearance of different characters gaining popularity, such as Batman, Superman, Captain America, and many others. This is also known as the golden age of comic books. The superhero universe corresponds to the concept of cultural conversions by Harry Jenkins, since this genre expanded to comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and so on. They coexist with each other as a means of expanding the storyline. Consequently, it becomes part of popular culture, and it creates an arena of consent and resistance. In this arena, representation is also part of the dispute, especially during the second wave feminism, known to the critics of systematic oppression of women as part of a dominant, submission, binary module of femininity and masculinity. Social movements impacted the narrative of superhero universe, and media industry started highlighting different female superheroes. During this process, although she wasn't the first female superhero, Wonder Woman was proclaimed the symbol of feminism during the 70s. The genre's growing popularity has led various fandoms to emerge as a social-cultural phenomenon defined by creativity, playfulness, and productivity of its participants, but also favoritism and rivalry by displaying positivity or negativity towards specific characters and brands. Moreover, this phenomenon is expressed between the two largest brands in the comic genre, Marvel and DC. In this case of favoritism and rivalry, if DC has Wonder Woman as the female superhero, who is the one in Marvel? The female superhero Captain Marvel had different introductions in the Marvel universe, with her first official appearance as Carol Danvers in 1968 as a lover of the male protagonist Captain Marvel. Marvel. 10 years later, during the second wave feminism, Marvel comic books saw an opportunity to give her a new storyline with the new title Miss Marvel, gaining superpowers by combining DNA with the male protagonist. In 2012, Carol Danvers became the new Captain Marvel, after 6 other characters that had previously held the name. However, in the movies, the story is slightly different. Starting in 2008, Marvel Cinematographic Universe released more than 30 movies, becoming one of the most successful media franchises in the world, mostly with superhero male protagonists. After 20 superhero movies, Marvel released its first female lead superhero movie, only in 2019. Differently from the comic books, in the MCU, there is only one Captain Marvel, the chosen superhero to represent female empowerment in Marvel. And here I'll share the story of a character built to fail. The present video essay aims to explore Captain Marvel's participation in the MCU alongside it with the limitations and implications of female empowerment towards the audience. My media analysis will focus on Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, and the Marvels. 4 official MCU movies with the participation of our superhero portrayed by Brie Larson. Therefore, I will segment the concepts of female empowerment portrayed throughout the movies into the following categories: vulnerability and empowerment, independence and cooperation, queer representation, and compulsory heterosexuality. International Women's Day, the first Captain Marvel movie was released in United States of America, with a narrative that reproduces the wide misconceptions of white feminist universality that mostly dominates American mainstream media in the 20th and the 21st century. The movie starts introducing our female protagonist, already with superpower and with a different name, Veers, a soldier on the planet Hala, where she believes to be part of Kreese, a blue-skinned humanoid race of extraterrestrial beings. The story follows Veers trying to recover fragments of her memory of when she was Carol Danvers, a normal human on Earth. The audience can access small fragments of Carol Danvers' narrative and story through flashback without connecting with the human side of the character that was repeatedly defined as weak. And on the other hand, Captain Marvel is defined throughout the movie to represent the concept of individual empowerment and heroic savior, directly connected with white liberal feminism. Therefore, the audience is presented with exploitative demonstrations of her superpower as a synonym of empowerment. One example happened in a conversation with Nick Fury, a human detective that is known to be a mentor to superheroes. They both needed to prove they were not Skrulls, a race of extraterrestrial shapeshifters. Nick Fury shares secrets of his personality, a moment of connection with different elements of this character. When it comes to Captain Marvel's turns, she uses her superpowers. So, The storyline of the movie presents to the audience two versions of the superhero. Firstly, as a powerful warrior for the planet Hala, and secondly, when she unlocks her real powers and becomes Captain Marvel, one of the greatest superheroes in Marvel Universe. The movie fails to create a real connection between the character and the audience, since the narrative lacks humanity. The character is portrayed as flawless, without no trace of vulnerability, with a personality defined mainly by her mind. Being independent is a very common element of empowerment as a subversion of the patriarchal oppression, but in this first movie it's possible to perceive this concept as being too good to need help. During the challenges, Captain Marvel can easily solve all of them without the help of the coadjuvant characters. Tracing to other superhero narratives, it's very common that protagonists has coadjuvants to help in their journey in an interdependent narrative, learning and supporting each other. As a result, in the movie Avengers Endgame, in her second participation, she had 15 minutes of time screen since she was saving other planets without impacting the main story and consequently the audience. It is possible to say that this character represents Fox feminism, since it doesn't challenge patriarchal hegemony, being the perfect example of post-feminism notion of self as project. At the end of the same movie, a scene embraces a wider representation of powerful women, whether superpowered or with extraordinary abilities, and from diverse backgrounds and identities. This is also a scene that can be read as an effort to compensate for past underrepresentation and meet the demand for greater media diversity. Understanding the concept of intersectional feminism, it is important to acknowledge that adding women from diverse backgrounds and identity does not fix the issue. In the movie Shang-Chi and the Legends of Ten Rings, Captain Marvel has a short participation in the post-credit scene when other MCU characters ask for her help, but she's too busy solving other problems, and she leaves the conversation without further explanations. In contrast, the movie The Marvels has a different approach by creating a forced cooperation between Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau as Professor Marvel, and Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel. This forced cooperation is due to the source of their powers. Through that, they swap places when they use their superpowers. The movie explores how this forced connection puts them to work with each other, understanding what is happening and facing a new threat. In different moments, it's possible to see that Captain Marvel has a hard time to cooperate with the other two protagonists. Through different struggles, the movie follows them solving the mission, saving the galaxy. But once again, Captain Marvel follows her path alone. Queer representation in MCU has been approached through a superficial narrative, and it's almost impossible to find queer characters who are open about their queerness. Likewise, the representation becomes much more limited when the analysis is exclusive to superhero protagonists. In the first movie, when Captain Marvel returns to Earth and tries to recover parts of her memory, she is reunited with Maria Rambeau. This character worked with Carol Danvers in the United States Air Force, both as pilots. Through flash memories, we can see that they were friends, housemates, and they both co-parented Maria's daughter, Monica. Through photos, the movie opens interpretation of a happy queer family, till Carol Danvers is kidnapped by the Krees and has her memories erased. Also, it is possible to analyze this narrative as a strategy used by the producers to tease the audience with queer content but denying queer representation. Emma Norris shares that queer baiting and accusations of queer baiting are not just about meanings and interpretation, but are just as much about visibility and representation. Adding to this, queer representation is also key for female empowerment through an intersectional feminist lens. In The Marvels, it's shown that Maria Rambeau died from cancer and Monica had to grieve alone. When they get connected through their powers, they are forced to have a family reunion and solve their issues. This family narrative is reaffirmed with more family photos in Captain Marvel's spaceship. During the mission, the three protagonists go to the planet Aladna, where they can only communicate through singing and dancing. The movie shows Captain Marvel being called a princess, and it's revealed that she is married with a prince named Yan. During their reunion, Captain Marvel is magically in a princess dress, dancing and singing with her prince. performing hyperfemininity. This scene reinforced compulsory heterosexuality. When female characters in superhero stories must be portrayed as high social status, white, and heterosexual, indicating the lack of racial and socioeconomical diversity. What is a good or a bad character? This is related to how the character is designed and how their stories is written. But mostly, a character is nothing but the representation of a person with wishes, desires, fears, dreams, and flaws. It is possible to create powerful female protagonists and empower female audiences by accepting the real challenges through intersectional lenses. Her storyline fails to challenge heteronormativity and racial prejudice when we apply the perspective of the fourth wave feminist. Popular culture, more specifically TV shows and films, became a strong source of feminist identity formation and female empowerment with the increase of visibility and representation. Today's film characterization of Captain Marvel proves how media can and should do a better job creating female superheroes. Marvel and Disney attempt to empower female audiences is limited by the construction and narratives of Carol Danvers and her movie participation. Since the narrative wants to appear diverse, but it has multiple gaps.